Hello everyone. Have you ever wondered how a government actually decides where a new hospital should be built or how many doctors a district truly needs? Behind every health service you see around you lies a careful and structured process called health planning. Today we are going to walk through the complete blueprint of national health planning, moving from the big picture all the way down to the smallest actionable step. Let us begin by understanding what health planning really means. It is an economic and structural necessity for utilizing material, manpower, and financial resources in order to improve health services. This process follows an orderly sequence of four broad stages. The first stage is to define and identify where community health problems and unmet needs are clearly defined. The second stage is to survey resources, which means auditing the material, manpower, and financial resources available to meet those needs. The third stage is to establish priorities, where realistic and feasible goals are set. And the fourth stage is to project action, which involves formulating administrative action to accomplish the proposed program. Now, health planning is not only about what experts think is needed, it also involves reconciling clinical needs with democratic demands. Health needs represent the expert perspective, covering deficiencies in health that require preventive, curative, control, or eradication measures, including medical care, safe water, nutrition, immunization, and family planning. These needs are often unperceived by the public until they come into contact with new ways of life. On the other hand, health demands represent the public perspective. These are conditioned by the population's aspirations and serve as the driving force of expectations in a democratic society. However, these demands may not always align with scientifically assessed needs. The real sweet spot for action lies exactly where these two circles overlap. Once needs and demands are understood, planning moves into what can be called the hierarchy of intent. At the top is the goal, which is the ultimate desired state, broad in scope and not constrained by time or existing resources. Below that is the objective, which is a precise, planned endpoint of all activities within a specific sector. An objective is binary in nature, meaning it is either achieved or not achieved. And finally, at the core is the target, which refers to discrete, quantifiable activities, such as the number of blood films collected. Targets deal with the specific factors involved in a problem and allow us to measure the exact degree of achievement. To bring these intentions into reality, there is what we call the architecture of execution. At the top is strategy, the practical roadmap detailing how to achieve a vision over months and years based on opportunities and obstacles. Below strategy comes policies, the guiding principles stated as an expectation, which act as guardrails for decision making. Next are programs, a sequence of activities designed to implement policies and accomplish objectives in a step by step approach. Following programs are procedures, which are a set of rules for carrying out work, ensuring maximum use of resources and efforts by everyone involved. And finally, schedules define the precise time sequence for when discrete tasks must be completed. Before any planning cycle can truly begin, certain foundational preconditions must exist. The first is political will, meaning clear directives or policies from the political authority driving health and welfare. The second is legislation, which is the translation of social policies into law, such as the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. The third is a planning organization, a dedicated structural body of full time planners, technical experts, and leaders. And the fourth is administrative capacity, which refers to the vested power in central and state ministries to coordinate and implement plans. With these foundations in place, we arrive at the actual engine of public health planning, which operates through 8 continuous steps. This is a continuous process of analyzing a system, formulating interventions, initiating action, and evaluating results to inform the next cycle. The first step is analysis of the health situation. This involves gathering, assessing, and interpreting information to reveal unmet needs and demands. It draws on demographics, meaning population size, age, and sex structure, disease metrics, meaning statistics of morbidity, mortality, and geographical epidemiology, infrastructure, meaning available medical care facilities such as hospitals and health centers, capacity, meaning technical manpower and available training facilities, and culture, meaning the population's attitudes and beliefs towards disease, cure, and prevention. Together, these elements build what is called the health landscape profile. The second step is establishment of objectives and goals. Unless objectives are established at all levels, resources end up being used uneconomically. Objectives serve both as a guide to action and as a yardstick to measure completed work. Modern management techniques used in this stage include cost benefit analysis, which quantifies the financial and social value of an intervention against its required expenditure, and input output studies, which track the direct correlation between resources invested in health services and the resulting health outcomes. The third step is assessment of resources. Resources encompass far more than just financial capital, and a delicate balance must be struck between required interventions and available resources. These resources include time and techniques, meaning methodologies and schedules, skills and knowledge, meaning specialized training, materials, meaning physical supplies and facilities, money, meaning budgetary allocations and funding, and manpower, meaning personnel and administrative capacity. The fourth step is fixing priorities and alternatives. Since resources always fall short of total requirements, priorities must be established through strict criteria. These criteria include financial constraints, meaning budgetary limits that dictate feasible scale, data driven magnitude, meaning priorities weighted by morbidity and mortality statistics, cost effective prevention, meaning prioritizing diseases that can be prevented at a low cost, social investment, meaning saving the lives of younger populations, and external pressures, meaning navigating political and community interests. Together, these criteria help in selecting the optimal plan among several alternatives. The fifth step is the write up of the formulated plan. The finalized plan must be complete in all respects for execution, serving as working guidance for all responsible parties. This includes input output mapping, which relates the exact resources required to the specific expected results, cost and timelines, where every stage is individually defined, costed, and assigned a specific implementation timeframe, and built in evaluation, meaning the blueprint must embed the metrics and systems necessary for subsequent evaluation and course correction. The sixth step is programming and implementation. This is where the written plan is translated into physical reality. Shortcomings frequently appear at this stage due to supply delays or inappropriate use of staff. The main considerations here include role definition, meaning clear fixation of responsibility and sufficient delegation of authority, human capital, meaning the careful selection, training, motivation, and supervision of the manpower involved, system architecture, meaning establishing organizational structure and seamless communication channels, and institutional efficiency, meaning optimizing the performance of individual delivery units like hospitals or health centers. The final two steps are monitoring and evaluation. Monitoring is the daily pulse of the plan, involving continuous day-to-day follow-up through observing, recording, and reporting. It identifies deviations from the schedule so that immediate corrective action can be taken. Evaluation, on the other hand, is the final assessment. It assesses the final outcome, adequacy, efficiency, and stakeholder acceptance. It measures the degree to which objectives are fulfilled and the ultimate cost effectiveness of the plan. Most importantly, evaluation provides the vital feedback loop that allows resources to be reallocated based on changing needs. To summarize everything we have discussed, national health planning is a dynamic and continuous architecture. When it is supported by strong political and administrative foundations, the planning process can systematically transform raw public needs and demands into measurable health targets and goals. Through rigorous analysis, balanced resourcing, and continuous evaluation, the planning cycle ensures that public health strategy remains responsive, equitable, and highly effective. Hope you have understood about the given topic, health planning. If you found this video useful, please like and share with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.